Hi there, welcome back. Welcome back to, I believe, the last video in the series on the Telefunken Gavotte 55. And as you can see, I've got all the components sitting here just begging to be joined up and finally constitute a full radio again. Now, I've done quite a lot of work. As you can imagine, this thing doesn't just do itself. I dismantled everything from the cabinet and yeah, that's different. I'll explain that in a second. Had to dismantle everything. This thing comes apart in small bits. Well, that bit comes off, that bit comes off, the rest stays on. So there was quite a lot of dismantling happening, but I started with the cabinet itself first. Let me give you a closer look at that. I had a careful look at this and I wanted to decide just how much change I was going to bring to this. And I decided the best option would be to not go down too far. Now, the actual woodwork was perfect. There were no big chips on here, no dings, no scratches. All we had were very slight superficial stains and scratches on the lacquer itself. And there isn't that much lacquer. This is not a very shiny cabinet. This thing is actually the color. I've seen pictures of radios of this model that came in this color. There's a slight tone increase on this end and light in the middle, but not that strong, accentuated sort of sunburst look that some of the other radios have. There is apparently a stain on here, but I'm not even sure if that's a stain or if that's the wood, because this thing is not on the surface, and I don't understand how this would have gone down if it's got nothing to do with the surface. So I decided to leave it as original as possible, and all I did was I sanded this down with wet and dry paper, very fine sandpaper. I think it's like 800 or 1000 grit. Literally just take off a little bit of the surface, get that down, and then I sprayed it with clear lacquer, matte lacquer, and I found that I was happy with that result. Everything inside was obviously washed and cleaned and dried and everything else. So that's what came out of there. Let's look at the other bits. The front was in perfect condition. There seems to be sort of a cracking on there, but it's not, it hasn't gone through. It's almost like it's sort of starting to go, but it hasn't gone through, and I didn't need to actually repair it. I removed this the logo and polished the lettering. I did the same with the Gavotte. That was removed and polished. The rest of it, this is one piece, so the rest of it was just very well cleaned. Washed, cleaned, dried, and of course you do the other side as well, because even if you can't see it, you need to know that it's done. This had a protective adhesive strip on here, which I replaced. That the one that was there was in bad shape. And the result is this thing is perfect, absolutely perfect. I polished the trims on there, so we got all the shine back. This thing looks absolutely beautiful. Now the speaker, the front. Well, speaker's in perfect condition. All I need to do is clean it and clean the solder connections there. I did the same on here. I believe this thing is working fine. We need to do a final test, see that it's not stuck. I don't presume that it's stuck before I go into it. So we'll have to see how that looks afterwards. And then what I did was, the one thing that was in really bad shape was the front, the grille. And I have this cloth, which is very close to the original that was on here. The original's actually got sort of a more shiny, goldy, you can see some sort of gold coming through, but I think in the original it actually glittered a bit. But obviously I can't find that. But this one was, the other one was removed, this was put in place, stuck in place, and then trimmed, and the holes made. So this thing's come out fantastically. I'm sure that behind that grill it'll look absolutely great. And then the only thing that's left is the bottom cover, which was just washed, cleaned up. So what I'm going to do is put this together. I'm going to remove the radio from this contraption, and I'll be ready to put, well, I'm putting the radio back first, the elements that go in before the radio itself, which is that front plate with a speaker assembly and so on. Taking this out, putting it in, and we'll see what the result is. So the next time you see this, I think you'll be seeing the radio instead of the pieces. I'll be right back. So what do you think? I am suspect, but I think it looks absolutely bloody fabulous. Look at this thing. The back's not on yet, obviously, but I just wanted to show you all the shiny bits. I like seeing the shiny bits. This thing came out absolutely amazingly well. I know I say this all the time, but hey, I'm doing it, so got to blow my own horn. Let me give you a closer look at some of the details. Well, here we are. Everything nice and shiny. I gave it a final cleanup just before I put it into the case. Soldered the speaker wires on, and also the electrostatic tweeter there. Just a note, to test the electrostatic tweeter, there's a very simple way of doing that. You have very high voltages on there. So what I do is I connect this tweeter. I should have filmed this. I connect the tweeter like it's supposed to be. And then I take these wires, and before I connect it to the speaker, I put a dummy load on them. And then if I play something, I've got to hear the high frequencies on there. If I don't hear it, I know there's a problem there. So the reason you'll hear them on there is because the main speaker's output is going to the dummy load. So all you're hearing is the output from the electrostatic tweeter. That's the system that works very, very well. And if it doesn't come through, you know you've got a problem with the tweeter itself. There was actually a bit of this part here had come unglued. I glued that together and clamped it. And then I painted all this brown edge just to refresh everything a little bit more. And it looks absolutely great. Now I'm going to put the back cover on. I'm actually just looking for 2 screws. This thing didn't have the original screws, so that I can put them up here. And then we'll probably be ready to test the reception. Everything's cleaned up properly. All the detail is visible there. It's just beautiful. It looks like new. And I know this sounds crazy. This thing is, what is it? 60-something years old. Quite a bit older than me. And it looks bloody great. The Gavotte symbol came out fantastically as well. And the grill cloth behind there, although not exactly the same as the original, I hope you'll agree that it fits very, very well.
musiciens de l'avenir. Il y a des jeunes qui sont en fait dans une grande souffrance.
D'accord.
Una galleta roja con el nombre de Trump y otra galleta celeste con el nombre de Biden, es decir, el cliente o por los daños que pueden procurar los debates en las perspectivas del candidato, como una frase o una actitud desafortunada irá exactamente como un rayo y lo perseguirá de por vida. Recordemos que vio la cara que traía
Movistar. Ganas por compartir kilómetros contigo, por recorrer el mismo camino y descubrir nuevos lugares juntos.
هذا في إطار حصص التعبير المباشر الخاصة بالاستفتاء حول مشروع تعديل الدستور الفاتح من نوفمبر 2020
والتكويني والعلمي. ¿Hasta dónde llega tu ilusión? La ilusión no tiene límites, pero sí tiene guía.
Tenía tanta experiencia como Kennedy al llegar a...
Para disimular tus debilidades. Es lo que me intento siempre ponerme en la piel de lo que puedan pensar los entrenadores.
Según experimentado.
En onda media,
Yo y
396.
Estás escuchando el partidazo de COPE.
¿Querés?
The way you look at esquecemos o mundo a viver.
Muito obrigado, companhia. Já viste como é bom estar com a RFM? Agora tens mais grandes músicas calmas para a tua noite. Este é o teu Oceano Pacífico.
We fight, we get hot.
Escutámos Lura no tema Narina, apontando aos ritmos de Cabo Verde, de onde nos chegou hoje o testemunho missionário.
Funchal 1, Rua Dom Carlos I, número 11.
E uma vida feliz. Até amanhã, se Deus quiser.
Well, folks, there you have it. The end of another project, and this one has been very, very special to me. I love the Telefunkens. The condition this was in was fantastic to restore because all the mechanicals were in perfect condition. There was quite a change from the original look of the chassis to the end, and I really like that because you really see the dramatic improvement as you go along. I mean, look at this thing. It looks like it was built yesterday. I love it. And this is special for another reason. If you haven't seen the whole series, this was a gift from the Rhineland-Pfalz Radio Museum. They generously donated this radio for restoration on the channel, and I want to thank them very much. These folks at the museum are currently re-establishing the museum, and they're moving it to a new location. So, unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, it's created some delay in the planning and renovations of the museum. So, reopening date is undetermined at this time, but they will announce it soon. I've left a link in the description below to the museum. And once again, thank you very much, and thank you for keeping me company on this project. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please click like, share, subscribe and all that jazz. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can do so on Patreon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now and stay safe.